So once again, you're watching live now from Fox as we are giving you continuous coverage on a dog trapped in the Los Angeles area. Let's listen in to Fox 11 Los Angeles coverage.
Portion of the Los Angeles River in the San Fernando Valley. The bottom line, this is runoff from the rain, the most significant rain we've received here in Southern California since last December in over 3 months. I'm calling it a mini March miracle because we desperately needed this precipitation and the mountain snow. We have flash flood watches up for portions of Southern California, mainly for the southern and eastern mountains and also Orange County until 1 a.m. We're not through this rain yet. Even though we did get a bit of a dry break, we are watching now more bands of rain, some of which could be moderate, even locally heavy over the next several hours into the overnight hours. And when precipitation falls, it runs off into the streets, into the gutters, the sewer system, and into the LA River. That is very dirty water. Whenever we get a significant rain event after not seeing much for several weeks, or in this case, a few months, all of what's accumulated on the roads, the oil, the dirt, the rooftops, any type of stuff that was just discarded, any trash that was discarded in the sewers and the gutters, that will run off into the river untreated and then right into the Long Beach and LA harbors and pollute our oceans. All of the waterways that make their way into the Pacific Ocean, those mouths of those tributaries that come off of the river and our water system here will essentially pollute it. All of that pollution will head into the bay, and that's why we say at least 72 hours do not swim or surf. Unfortunately, this pup has no other option but just to try to maintain that fast stream of water, again, coming through the San Fernando Valley. This is a portion of the LA River that parallels the 101 freeway, the Ventura Freeway on the south side of the 101, and then it will make its way past the 101 freeway around the zoo, around Griffith Park, and that's when it makes a bend or a turn to the right by the Golden State Freeway and runs adjacent to the 5 freeway to the 710, and then along the 710 right down towards Long Beach. A 48-mile stretch from where this river starts, and you can see there, Marla.
I know.
Yep, it's moving. That dog is moving by the flow of the water, and it looks like it's gotten deeper here because it doesn't appear that the dog is making much traction with the surface of the river there. Look at all the onlookers there, people, and we saw that heroic gentleman jump into the water, and he meant well. Do not do that. That provides a more complex situation because now firefighters, those urban rescue teams, those swiftwater teams that train for this year-round have to jump into the water and try to save another individual's life. They already saved the woman who was connected with this dog earlier. That man tried to do something, a good deed. Please don't do that. It is unsafe for yourself, obviously, and it puts those rescuers at risk as well. We're going to do our best. The Los Angeles Fire Department, the Swiftwater team, highly trained Swiftwater team, one of the most highly trained in the world, are on this. They're going to do their best to save this dog here in the LA River, still in the San Fernando Valley, close to the Hollywood split. That's where the 101 and the 134 freeways meet.
Okay. We are now joined by Margaret Stewart of the LAFD. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're monitoring the situation. What can you tell us about this poor dog that's trapped in the LA River right now?
Well, as your viewers have been watching, we've been trying to rescue this dog for a while. We received this initial call about 2:15 of a woman and a dog. We were able to rescue the woman. We've made multiple attempts to rescue the dog. However, it's a large dog that has been fighting and is able to run away from our rescuers, has bitten the rescuers multiple times. Unfortunately, we had exactly what we highly encourage and ask people to not do, and as a bystander climbed into the water, was able to get a hold of the dog, and then, as we would expect, was shortly later not able to hold the dog. The dog continued down. And so then we had to rescue the human who, as I understand right now, is being transported for probable dog bites. So he's lucky to be alive, honestly. He could have easily been swept down and drowned. And bystanders, they don't understand the power of the water. They aren't trained. They don't have the safety equipment. So we ask people, do not do that. We understand the desire to help. We are still tracking the dog. We have ground resources that have redeployed downstream to try to effect a ground rescue. And we still have air ops on scene. So we are working for the right opportunity to rescue the dog in as safe a manner as possible.
Yes, and I'm not sure if you have a look at our air right now, but we are, for viewers who might be a little confused, this is that rescue of that bystander who tried to help out the situation. But of course, Margaret Stewart with LAFD is saying she understands the will and the want to help, but it's never a good idea. Thank goodness that man was okay, and kudos to the rescuers who were able to bring him to safety. You mentioned that man was bitten by this dog who's obviously very fearful right now, very frightened. You also mentioned that some of LAFD rescuers were also bitten. Are they okay?
Yeah, so there's likely going to be treatment needed. I don't have details on the severity of the bites, but at a minimum they'll probably need to make sure their rabies is current. But that's a side note to the continued work they're doing. We haven't let up. We did have a helicopter that needed to refuel because they'd been on station for almost an hour and a half at this point. So we still have a rescue effort underway for the dog. For those that may be concerned that we've just left it, that's not the case. Every rescue effort we make and the dog passes us, we then have to redeploy those resources further downstream. So we have them in multiple locations, but it's like a game of leapfrog. If you can't get the dog, then it's the next location, and then those rescuers have to move. But as you can see, this is a big dog. It's some kind of a shepherd mix, and if it's not willing to let us grab it, unfortunately, they're just not able to because it can fight and use its body to get away.
And I'm glad you made that point, because we are looking at the zoomed in, the close-up shot of the dog, and so you can't get a sense of the bigger picture. So you do have crews, and we've seen that happen, setting up a staging downstream to try and rescue. And again, there have been several attempts. The animal's frightened and has attacked the rescuers and had to let him go, or her go. Margaret, do you know anything about the dog's owner, who I know, wow, and the dog's now running upstream? Any word from the woman who was rescued, the dog's owner, and her condition?
She was brought out of the water uninjured, but potential, hypothermia. She had to be evaluated. I'm not sure. We have had a transport, but I believe it was for the adult male, the second rescue. I don't know that the female has been transported yet at this time.
Are you seeing our live picture right now? It looks like this doesn't look like an LAFD official. This looks like...
No, it is not. This is another bystander.
This is the other bystander.
This is no good.
Yeah, this is not.
Putting himself at risk.
Goodness.
He's going to fall in the water, and then we're going to have a third patient to rescue. This is exactly what we're begging people to please not do. Stay out of the water. Do not complicate the situation further.
Oh my goodness, you're saying
they will not be able to rescue the dog. They will not be able to hold. I mean, you saw what happened when the first person tried. So fortunately, it looks like this person is climbing back over the fence. But they will not be able to hold on to the dog. They need to allow us to do what we are trained to do.
That water is very cold, even though it's not very deep. It is very dirty. We're talking about the water temperature likely in the upper 50s, and it is moving swiftly. We saw that gentleman, a rather large man who looked strong, really struggling with all of this. And it's just, again, we cannot stress enough, with any rain event, stay away from the streams, stay away from the LA River, all the tributaries into the Los Angeles River. Make sure your kids know that as well. People get too close. And as I mentioned, the Los Angeles Fire Department and other agencies, they really try to do their best to clear out any homeless encampments in and around the river prior to a significant rain event like we received today. That was the most rain that Los Angeles has received in about 3 months, since last December. And all of that is running off into our Los Angeles River, heading out of the San Fernando Valley, that 48-mile stretch from the west end of the valley all the way down into the Long Beach Harbor. And it's moving at a good clip, 5 knots or so, and it's moving downhill. Again, the San Fernando Valley, the average elevation is 800 feet. The elevation where this river meets the Long Beach Harbor area, the mouth, is sea level. So it's going downhill. That's why it's rushing at this rate through the San Fernando Valley. Right now, this is still the east-west portion of the LA River. So it's running from the west towards the east side of the valley. Then the river takes a bend around the 5. Here's another individual trying to be a hero, trying to save the dog. But that dog is big, as Margaret, you've said. It's heavy. It's not going to be able to be rescued by just a strap right there, someone pulling it up, and they're going to put themselves into danger just getting close to that water.
Yeah, spokesperson Margaret Stewart was with us from LAFD. We thank her for her time. She's no longer with us, though, Rick, but she did provide more perspective on the dog rescue that we're all watching live and now have a different look at, as now it's very deep waters, Rick, and the dog is swimming along here, and there's plenty of people, bystanders up above, trying to help. But again, that is not a good idea, because we've already seen that happen where a bystander fell in, and that was a very dramatic rescue.
And you can see water's still running into the river. There's still runoff right there. And it is raining at this time. There's a cell right over this portion of the LA River. There's going to be more runoff. That means that water will get deeper. It will start moving quicker, and it will provide a more challenging time for this dog here.
Yeah, and looks like and thought to be a shepherd mix of some kind. Very big dog. It's already bit several people who have tried to rescue it. That's why it's not yet to safety.
Okay, so once again, we've been listening in to Fox 11 in Los Angeles. Their coverage here of a dog rescue underway in the LA River. And we're getting some new details from the Los Angeles Fire Department. The dog, unfortunately, biting some of the rescuers or people that have been trying to rescue this dog that's now stranded in there and trying to keep up, dog paddling down this massive river here. I want to bring in our own expert here, Fire Captain Nathan Gunkel, on the line with us. Nathan, do you hear us?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
All right, so you work in California. You're out of Palm Springs, California. This is in the Los Angeles River. What's the difference? Because we hear there's 2 operations underway. There's a ground operation. There's also an aerial operation. Explain that to us. What's going through the minds of these teams here?
So you have crews on the ground that are going to trying to set up to do a rescue. The airship that's above is just going to be trying to locate the best area for the crews to get in, a safe area downstream where they can get something set up prior. So they just give them some eyes in the sky. They can see a lot more visibility than we can on the ground.
And so we've seen multiple people who have tried to help out with this, and we heard from the Los Angeles Fire Department, they say, don't do that. It makes it more difficult on the people who have a focus, on the teams who are trying to rescue the dog. Now they've had to rescue 2 people because of them getting into the river and getting themselves stranded. Just kind of reiterate that for us.
Yeah, 100%. And that's exactly what we're looking at. As firefighters, we're willing to risk a lot to save a lot. So we're trying to set up we all have empathy for the animal. We want to make sure he can get home safe. We don't want to see the animal lose its life. But a person is going to take priority over the animal. So if people start jumping in, we're going to have to up our efforts to rescue the dog and put all the efforts towards the human that has fallen in. So they're delaying our rescue. They're delaying it, hampering us. They're putting us in this high risk too. This is a very dangerous type of rescue that we always have to do, these swift water rescues. So it puts all our firefighters at extreme danger.
Yeah, and just difficult because communication is going to look a little bit different than with a human, obviously. The dog has not been cooperative thus far. They've gotten their arms around him a couple of times and seems to be somewhat of a larger dog, but the dog biting and resisting them from being able to hoist him up. What do you do in those circumstances? I mean, what does it look like, even with humans that are kind of resisting your help?
Right. So that's going to happen every time, even with humans. They're scared, and they're going to do whatever they can to get their head above water, their body above water. So when we go out to them, they're going to try and push us down to get higher than us, and that's something we always worry about. But we're able to communicate with them above, the airs that are coming at us. We're able to talk to them. We're able to get a vest on them just in case they break loose, and we're able to communicate. The best we can. Of course, there's going to be zero communication with the animal, so that this puts us in even more danger. And then we have the dog he's scared. I'm sure he's a good dog, but he's scared for his life, and he's going to bite. He doesn't understand what's going on. So now we have firefighters that can go in there and get injured, basically get attacked by a dog, and this dog can, they just like they dog paddle, they're going to dog paddle right over the body. They're going to push us underwater. So we've got to do this the best we can, the safest way. We want to make sure our firefighters all go home at night. So this is very difficult. I have never been involved with this type of a swiftwater rescue with an animal yet. So I could just imagine everything they're planning, and they're trying to do it the best they can here.
Yeah, and we're so impressed by these teams that have been keeping their eyes on this from above and on the ground, as we said. The first safety call came in around 2:15, so we're going on over an hour now. It's about 3:40 there in Los Angeles. From your experience, how long can someone go on this? He seems to be getting a little bit winded here, the dog, trying to resist the current, as he's been keeping up pretty well thus far, running along and kind of doggy paddling. But how long could this last? This is a massive river. It's 55 miles long.
Right. I think the thing that's really helping the canine at this time is just the shallow waters at times. He's able to, where he's still being pushed, but he's able to stand and kind of take a break and walk. So it looks like he, in deep water at times, or he's swimming, but then he gets this break where he can just walk. So unknown. But you can see every time I can see right now live where he's trying to stop, and he's not going to be able to stop in this water pressure. And the rain's continuing. It's going to get deeper. It's going to get faster. It's going to get just more dangerous for both the canine and our rescuers. But we can still see people trying to do rescues here, and that's all I could recommend. 100%, please stay out of the water. I know we all have empathy for the canine, but we could lose a human life here very easy as well.
Yeah, and just to reiterate that, we're actually getting out a tweet from the fire department, from Los Angeles Fire Department. They tweeted and say they're strongly asking all bystanders to stay out of the LA River as we continue our efforts both from the ground and the air to rescue the dog. By going in the water, you are creating another human rescue, which puts all at risk, including yourself. Please stay out. Many of that in all capital letters. So they're serious about this, as there almost was another man who tried to hop over and help out the dog. People who are watching right now, Nathan, probably think that it would be easy to hop in there and, push up against the current and grab the dog. That's not what it's like when you get in there, right?
No. As the water gets deeper, the force, the power of that water, people don't understand. Anything deeper than your knees will push you over and will throw you downstream. The force, the weight of all this water coming at you, and the speed that it's going right now, you're not going to be able to fight it. And I know, like you were just saying, everyone wants to do the good thing, but they're delaying the rescue on the dog. Every single time we have to stop and help a person, they're delaying the rescue. So they're actually impeding us there. And you can see as this is going on here longer and longer, we're getting more and more people along the river. We're getting more and more vehicles there. That's blocking our fire engines, our emergency personnel from getting to the scene, our egress, getting in and getting out. They're really making it a lot more difficult. I know they're trying to help, but they're doing the exact opposite right now.
Yeah, so that's right.
Please stay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just please stay out of the area. Because these people, there's not parking along this river. So people are just parking wherever they can, and they're blocking roadways, they're blocking stuff. So our fire engines need a lot of room to get in there. And it's not going to be one fire engine. It's going to be multiple units, multiple personnel to set up to do this.
And it seems like there's pretty good communication right now. So we're learning that they have now deployed ground resources down the river, as the helicopter is, of course, tracking where the dog is going to end up going. And it looks like this is actually going to converge into some ground if he goes the other way, like maybe the end of the river here.
Right, yeah, it looks like it kind of Siameses together. Like there's two different, there's a larger river and then the small channel. They're going to kind of meet up here. That's going to cause some extra current when they hit some different stuff there. And remember, we're going to have two operations going on even on the ground. You're going to have the rescue ground operation, to get the canine, and you're going to have a rescue team downstream in case something happens to those initial rescuers, if they break loose or come off the rope or get bit by this dog and get injured and start floating down to rescue them. So there's going to be two separate operations.
You mentioned something earlier, which I wanted to bring up again, using life vests, but we haven't seen air ops with life vests for the people or for the dog either. So is there a reason that they would be doing that? Maybe it's just because they were hoping to hoist the dog up and wouldn't have to utilize a life vest. Could they utilize a life vest on a dog too?
Yeah, they do have them. Unknown if this team that's currently on the ground does. But, it's something you kind of do prior to going in the water with your canine. People put a vest on if there's a river or, some type of waterways. But to try and put a vest on a drowning dog when he's scared for his life underwater, it can be very difficult. Something they already may have thought of, like swimming up to him when they do get him, just have a muzzle on hand. And it may be something they've already thinking, okay, let's just get a muzzle on him, and then we can just strap this vest around him. So they're going to have to improvise. They're going to have to adapt. This isn't the normal daily swiftwater rescue that's already got so many dangers attached to it. This has a lot more attached.
Yeah, a lot of things attached and a lot of people who are now gathering to watch what's going on. We have, again, Fire Captain Nathan Gunkel on the line. Nathan, I'm going to keep you on here as we are on the edge of our seat trying to see what happens next. The dog, unfortunately, walking upstream now, which is quite the opposite of what I'm sure emergency crews were hoping for. I want to recap for everyone, though, what's been going on here. We had Los Angeles Fire Department, their air ops, tracked the dog and made multiple rescue attempts within the last hour here. That call coming in around 2:15, so about an hour and a half ago. The dog was able to run downstream away from the rescuer and continue to fight. Ground resources were redeployed downriver as the helicopter tracked the dog for a little bit more of an effective rescue opportunity. During this time, we had one bystander who entered the water. He was able to grab that dog, and then they were swept a little bit further downstream. He was able to grab a hold of a rope that was sent over the side from bystanders. The LAPD also there at the time. The fire department now having to rescue that man. He was taken to the hospital with dog bites, which we heard that the original owner of the dog, a woman who was also rescued during this, unfortunately getting some dog bites, as well as some of the other rescuers who were able to grasp onto the dog. So he's scared right now. He doesn't know what to do. He's walking upstream. He's walking downstream. And now, as we pointed out earlier, it seems like the river is somewhat converging to a ground level, which would be a fantastic opportunity for emergency crews. Right, Nathan?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and so we still just have Skyfox overhead eyewitnesses there on the scene as we are keeping our eyes on this. And viewer discretion always advised. We have emergency crews that are at the Los Angeles River, which is a massive river, 55 miles long. So what are the next steps? Nathan, do we still have you?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so next step right here, this looks like the whole game plan's changing. Like I said, there's two rivers that turned into one. We call it Siamese. So 2 into 1. The river is a lot wider where it connects with these two going together. So the water level has gone down tremendously. So he's able to walk now. And currently, but like I said, with the water still coming down, at any point you can have a huge surge and it's all going to change again. So this throws more idea here where he was going to float into the firefighters and go towards them, go towards their ropes. And now we're possibly going to have to go upstream to him, but he's going to be scared. And you can see people on the side of the road, clapping, trying to call him over. He's looking at him, but he's running. So this is, this is interesting.
And Nathan, we now have that second shot up of the rescuers who are standing there and they are just waiting for the dog to come downstream a little bit further. What are they thinking? How are they kind of strategizing right now? Do they all go out? Does one go out and the others stay behind? What's that going to look like, you think?
Yeah, they're going to get a plan that fits. They're going to have several people on this team, though. At no point are we going to put anyone out by themselves. they have a plan. Like I said, they have the backup. So you can see him trying to go upstream now, and the water is once again increasing. He's just going to get exhausted and start floating back down, just like he just did here. There's other options here. There's ropes that can hang off the bridge and try and, lasso him, for a better word. You know what I mean? You want to do it careful without harming the dog. But like I said, whatever we can do to get this dog out of the water safely is the best bet. Eventually, you're correct. He's going to get tired. I mean, he can only keep doing this for so long. So he'll get exhausted enough where we will be able to just walk up to him and get him. But we're worried about this river, the water conditions changing, and it changes rapidly. It can go just from this nice and calm like you see to just a huge surge of water coming.
Yeah, you're right. And we have seen the water kind of pick up at certain points. We've seen it much deeper than at other points. We were worried at certain points when it was really deep and he was barely staying and treading above water. We heard that there was a bit of a rain yesterday, more rain than what California has gotten in quite a while, which caused for higher water levels. And that's always a concern for rescue efforts, too, when there's conditions like that and colder water, I would imagine, too.
Yes. Yeah, so and this is all concrete here, but so the water's not really absorbing in. But when you get these floods, like we're used to out here, it flashes. And you can see, like I was just saying with the lassos, like, hopefully they're not listening, but that's bystanders are kind of trying to do that this time. The best option at this time, but unfortunately it's non-existent, because they have the owner there off the side with the fire department to be able to call her over. But like you said, they were transported to the hospital, I believe I heard you say.
Yeah, the woman has been transported to the hospital, the owner of the dog, and then also that bystander who hopped into the river and had to be rescued too, also taken to the hospital.
But I'm sure they've considered that, to get that owner, out with them. I mean, that may even be an idea here in the future. If it stays nice and flat where it's at right here, the dog's able to run around, to have the owner on scene and call him over is probably going to be the only person that this canine is going to trust with its life at this time.
That's right. And so for everyone who may just be joining in right now, we have Fire Captain Nathan Gunkel on the line from Palm Springs, California. So very familiar with the Los Angeles area, Nathan. How common is it for people to get stuck in rivers like this? I don't know how much work you've done out in LA or heard from maybe LAFD about this, but it doesn't seem to happen too often. I know that here in Arizona, people falling into canals is a real problem, and it's quite fatal.
Yeah, and luckily it's a low frequency, but it's a very, very high risk. So this is something that us at fire departments train a lot on, because when you get these low frequency incidents like this with extremely high risk of injury or if it's death to us, we're going to train on it, because we don't run a lot of them. So we're going to train extra hard. We're going to do it all the time, every year. And we see this year after year with people, especially in the LA. More people, we're going to have more incidents. This is something we run in our valley every year, unfortunately. And it's a little different, with the people here, and it's just a whole other game plan with an animal. And I can be honest, I'll bring this back to the RC at this time, but this is something we haven't planned on. This is something, a lot of departments, I'm sure, have never holy moly, what if we had to do a canine? What's all the different ideas or possibilities that we're going to have to work with here? We've got a lot of
something you don't think about every day, but as you can see, the bystanders are all in on this. No one wants anything to happen to this dog. As much as it can even be a safety concern to people, they're still jumping in and trying to rescue, which we want to alert everyone that is not helpful, and you should not do. It is for trained professionals to do only here. And maybe we can go into that a little bit, Nathan. What does that training look like?
It looks a lot like what you're seeing right here. We do a lot with fast-moving water, with different types of the way the canals are shaped, with eddies, with debris that's in the water, how to self-rescue. If we hit, strainers, we hit other items that are floating down the water, whether it's logs, vehicles. We do a lot of training with that. All our specialized equipment we have, our vests, our helmets, our lights. We have special terminology. We have a whole incident command system that we're set up just for this. There's dedicated positions. This is not like you were asking earlier, like how many people do we use? This is a lot of positions to fill to do it correctly without putting someone else's life at immediate risk here. And even a best plan that you set and you do, there's still dangers to this. So there's real high winds here too, I can see. So with the helicopter, this is a difficult rescue.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, because we looked at the forecast, and honestly, wind gusts were not super high, but the helicopters seem to be putting off, creating some higher currents for the river there. Is that a concern?
Right.
Is that something to be taking into account during rescues?
Yeah, it's a concern, and like you can see how the water's flowing around, debris flowing around. I mean, and that's our visibility down there too. So you have water that's flashing and it's flowing in your face. It makes it a lot more difficult for you and I. If we were in the water to see that helicopter above us, that's a welcoming sight, right? We're like, oh, here they are. They're here to save us. I can relax. I can just stand right here. They're going to come down and get me. So we saw that, and with the dog, he doesn't understand it. Loud noises, it's more wind. It's just more chaos to the canine. And then we can see even when the guy went in, like you and I would be happy to see the welcoming, rescuer, the dog attacked him, or trying to save his life. But the canine does not understand it. So this is just going to be time is going to kind of really tell in here. Hopefully the rain stays down and this water can really lighten up, and the dog's going to relax and come up to someone eventually. But time for tell. We can see another footage you guys are showing right now. The exact same rescue with the helicopter, the rescuer in the water. The man was happy to see him, and it was a good save. But you can imagine, if the person started fighting, what the firefighters are having to deal with.
Right, and I want to just play out some of that video for everyone who may not have seen it before, of that rescue of a man who did hop in to try to save the dog, and you can see rescuers having to go in and hoist him to safety. He's since been transported to the hospital and is also being treated for some dog bites too. And then this man right here who was running along tried to, put his leg over the fence, hop over the fence, and help out the dog. And I think he put maybe a tree branch down, hoping the dog would bite onto the tree branch and he could maybe bring him to safety. But this is a perfect example of why this is more of a deterrence than a help to rescuers there on the scene. So just wanted to play that video once again for everyone, as there's now been 2 human rescues, as we take it back out live, as they're still trying to rescue this dog, who I also believe, Nathan, is not a small dog. Somewhat heavy, obviously a little bit lighter than a person, but squirmy too.
Yeah, no, he looks like a big boy, big bone there. So yeah, I mean, it looks like it's probably pretty close to a 100-pound dog, and that's dry. So now you got to put the weight on him. So yeah, he's a heavy dog. And remember the longer too. So without all three of the dangers, drowning, which is the number one concern right now. But injuries. So there's rocks coming down this river. There's people throwing debris in the water. So now there's sticks are coming at this dog, 10 miles an hour plus, hitting the dog. So these people, they want to do, they're doing the best they can, but it's wrong. So please, if you don't know what you're doing, don't throw items in the water. You're just going to injure the dog. You're going to injure our firefighters that are downstream waiting for the dog to come to them. So like you said, people throwing in branches, they're thinking, if I can bite onto it, well, if it misses the dog, it's going to hit one of our firefighters downstream. So people need to kind of, and I know this isn't the time to teach them all right now, but there's a lot to be thinking about here. So if you don't know what you're doing, please stop getting in the water. Please stop throwing debris in the water. And the longer then, this water's cold. So hypothermia is another concern we're worried about with the dog and with the people. So our firefighters in there, they're getting cold too.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think about what else could be in the river there, rocks and branches. You said 10 miles per hour it could hit the dog at.
Oh, yeah, and that's what it looks like it's going, but it can go a lot quicker than that.
Wow.
The shallower water can really get along here. And
so just doing some play-by-play, the dog is acknowledging people who are up on the side of the river that are calling down to him, which I feel like also isn't super helpful as we have rescue teams that are downstream a little bit further too.
Right, and the dog saw him there, but you can see he's running from people. He's running more into danger, and this isn't something we want to just go chasing the dog upstream. We have empathy, like I said, for the canine. We want to make sure he gets home safe and this dog continues, living a good life. But to risk our unnecessary risk, the firefighters are not going to do it this time. This isn't something for us to try and swim upriver and put us even in more of a danger. So the dog will eventually, downhill, down water, downstream, it's going to go. So I think they'll probably just stay where they're at. Hopefully the dog comes up to them.
Let's play some hypotheticals here because we're going to stay on this shot, Nathan. We have a lot of people who are tuning in and wanting to see a happy ending to this, honestly, nerve-wracking situation out in Los Angeles to start off your week on this Monday. But say someone finds themselves in a situation, a circumstance like this, falls into the river or falls into a canal. Let's utilize this as a teaching opportunity. What is the best thing to do?
The best thing to do, and this is the number one thing that we rescue every single year, if people in their vehicles, they go around barricades. They go through areas that are already blocked off that we notice are dangerous, and we'll put barricades out. The police department will block it off. I think the majority, by far, of all our rescues are people that ignore that, or they're looking at it. They think they can make it through there in their vehicle, and they don't. But with that being said, the best way is just avoid being in there in the first place. But if you are in there and you do end up in the water, you're just going to want to do your best to get on your back, go feet first, downstream, and just try and swim if you can, like at a diagonal, and go diagonally towards the thing. You're not going to go upstream against this. You're not going to be able to go upstream. You're not going to be able to go straight to the side. But if you try and go diagonally the best you can towards the shore, whichever way it's pushing you the best, do that. If you're unable to swim, like I said, lay on your back, feet first, going downstream, so you don't hit your head on anything, and you're going to hit your feet and be able to go over the top of stuff. If you get stuck on it, then you're going to want to swim over items. Let's say it's a log that's in the street, or some fencing, that you can swim up over the top of it. Don't ever try and go underneath because you're going to get stuck. We call them like a strainer. Very, very, very dangerous areas here.
Yeah, super dangerous. And the dog now running upstream away from rescuers, seemingly trying to run away from them, Nathan. This is just very frustrating to watch, and I'm sure frustrating for those rescuers as they are walking up on steady ground that has no water on it, where we saw the dog probably about 5 minutes ago. He's trying to figure out what to do and running in the opposite direction, not towards them.
Right.
I have to wonder what that communication, how difficult that is to tell him, come this way. Oh no,
right.
I'm jumping in.
And you can see he's not walking away, he's running away. He's in fear.
Yeah.
So that puts our mindset is like, this dog is going to do whatever it can to get away from us.
Yeah.
And he's going to run it. If he can't run, what do you do after you run? You fight. So he's going to want to fight it. He just doesn't get it. So I'm sure they have a plan. I'm not in communication. I don't hear any radio traffic, what their plan is on there. So he's running into the deep water again here. So there he goes.
Okay, and here we have it. They have secured the dog and are on dry ground there on the side, have a leash on him. He is not getting away. And hopefully they'll be able to walk off with him without any problems. Man, this has been quite the ride here, literally down the Los Angeles River. That call coming in at 2:15. It's now 4 o'clock. So hours later, we are finally seeing a safe rescue of a dog in the Los Angeles River. 2 human rescues later, and now the dog taken off safely. This is what we were hoping to see, Nathan, hoping that it didn't take quite as long, but lots of resources being deployed and lots of people being able to see this. Last thoughts.
Yeah, I'm smiling. This is awesome. This is what we all hope for. Number one, I want to see we always want to see all our firefighters go home safe to their families at night. But to see that the dogs, they saved the dog's life too. It's a perfect scenario. There was so many chances for this to go worse. It's the two humans that we had to rescue out of there, people throwing debris in there, other people jumping in, people blocking the pathways. And like you said, everyone hopefully learned a lot from this today. Great ending, like you said, the perfect happy ending on this. And hopefully everyone watching this learned what not to do today.
Yeah, and I think that's fantastic. That's a good point. Sometimes you don't know what to do in circumstances like this until they happen. And here we have it. It's not just humans that are falling into the river or could fall into the river, and it's not just humans that firefighters have to rescue. They have to, oh, that's great in the front. You can see them kind of consoling each other. It must be nice to be walking away with the dog on the leash with a successful mission.
The dog's not panicking now, so it's not underwater. It's not trying to push us down, thinking we're trying to drown him. So you can tell he's a good boy. He's on the leash now, and he's happy. Being a dog, best day, still the best day.
Yeah, there we have it. Man's best friend, and they're off, and they're good to go. And we were able to bring this to all of our viewers here on Live Now from Fox. Since it first started, like I said, around 2:15, so let's see, hour, 45 minutes later, almost 2 hours later. Successful mission as they walk off here off the Los Angeles River. I'll be interested to see just how long that river ride was for the dog here, because it's quite a long river, and it went for a long time. And now he's being taken off safely.
For everyone to see what their firefighters are willing to risk for not only people but their pets. We get it, and you can see all the firefighters put their life on the line today to not only save people but save their best friend. Good end here.
Yeah, so amazing to see this. So now, obviously, both people who were rescued have been taken to the hospital. I would assume some treatments for the dog as well. As I thought it was over, Nathan, but you never know with this dog. He kind of took off a couple times, so we're just going to hold this shot as we want to see him successfully get back to some dry ground, not even close to the river, and be able to be assessed as well. So we're just going to hold it here. Again, you're watching Live Now from Fox, top of the hour, about almost 4:10 out in Los Angeles. We've been keeping up with a rescue at the river, Los Angeles Fire Department, Los Angeles Police all there, bystanders doing what they can to help out. And just a reminder, we're taking away many lessons from this circumstance. If there is a rescue underway, don't jump in, don't hop in. Let the professionals take care of it. They know what to do. And you know what? That current is a lot stronger than you would think. Isn't that right, Nathan?
Yes, a lot quicker than this thing. And you're exactly right. There's going to be lessons not only for everyone watching this show today, but also for us. Like personally, this is the first time I've seen, firefighters put their life on the line so much as they did today to save this canine. So this is great lessons for us. And remember, this is just we were just reacting to everything that was going on here and doing the best we could. So it'd be Monday day quarterback, of course. There'd be people that have, a lot of different opinions with this. We understand it is an animal, but so you're going to have a lot of people saying, oh, they should have done more quicker. They should have done less. It wasn't worth it. Everything they did was calculated today. Every risk is calculated that we do every single day in the fire service. And that's an old saying we have. We'll risk a lot to save a lot. We'll risk little to save little. Well, firefighters, we determine this canine's a lot. It's a lot to somebody. To somebody, this is their whole world. So we were willing to risk a lot to save a lot today. This turned out great.
Yeah, that's right. And we appreciate you, Fire Captain Nathan Gunkel, joining us live. You're out in the Palm Springs area, but very, very familiar with California and work closely with the Los Angeles Fire Department. Any message, any last thoughts as we keep our eyes on a pretty happy dog here?
No, just always try and help us out by helping yourself by not going around barricades, but by following the signs, any posted signs or any road closures. They're up there for a reason. It may look like the water's only 6 inches deep, a foot deep going across the road, but what you don't understand is that the road is completely gone underneath there, and it may be 5-10 feet deep. So you think you might be able to drive through this little small area, but it's not a foot deep. The asphalt is completely gone. It's completely eroded away. So there's a reason we got signs up there.
All right, no doubt. We appreciate you. Nathan, thank you so much for the work that you and all firefighters do across the country, including save dogs trapped in the Los Angeles River. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate you, Jason. Have a great day.
You too. And we're going to stay on this as these are just the remaining moments as the dog is taken off and is still a little squirmy here, clearly shaken off, which is definitely understandable. Our Fox 11 Los Angeles team has reporters on the ground. They have reporters in studio. We're going to take their coverage for just a little bit longer here as they kind of wrap a bow on this situation, a dog rescue successful.
Have the dog chill a bit, but everyone's on dry ground. That's what matters. Rick, is that area dry, like for good?
This is the Tahunga Wash. Not necessarily, because we're looking at more runoff. We just had a band of light, occasionally moderate rain move over that portion of the San Fernando Valley out of Studio City towards the east end of the valley, towards Glendale and Burbank, right along the LA River there. This is the Tahunga Wash, though, just north of the LA River. This is the area, that confluence of the two waterways, that they felt that they could make that rescue, not using the helicopter, but the ground crews, and that's what we saw. We saw that we're seeing more bites. That dog is not happy there. But what we will see is likely a hoist of some sort, whether it be a ground hoist or a helicopter hoist to get it up that. Yeah. That's a steep sided wash there. You could see the walls of that wash, and that ladder didn't even work across that small portion of the wash. The dog just couldn't have it. And now it looks like they're trying to, they're probably still trying to put some gear on the dog to create that hoist system, to create a safety net for it, because that's a process in itself.
Because as hard as they work to get that dog to safety, they don't want to lose the grip of the dog, and the dog goes back into the water, takes off running. So they really got to get this handled so that dog doesn't, go back to where he was.
Yeah, that's right. And we don't know. We're going to find out how this all started. I had mentioned earlier, Alex and Christine, that most times when we are experiencing or expecting a significant precipitation, a significant rain event here in Southern California, because of the large homeless encampments that line the river, or even on islands of the LA River. I've seen them from up in Skyfox for my years up there. They will do whatever they can to clear those individuals out. Say, hey, there's going to be a big rain event, even though the riverbed right now is completely dry. That's not going to be the case in 24, 48, 36 hours. You are going to see significant water moving through this area, deep water. You are going to endanger your life and your belongings here if you don't get out now, and they will do just that. Similar to what they do in the wildland fire areas. A lot of homeless encampments in those areas, those urban and wildland interfaces that are vulnerable to wildland fires. They'll try to clear those out as well. That Sepulveda fire that we saw just ravage the pass there and those neighborhoods along the 405 freeway may have been started. We believe one of them was started by a homeless encampment along the side of the 405 freeway. They will try to clear those areas the best they can in the fires and also in the floods.
So what we're looking at now on the right side of your screen, the big box, is the Skyfox picture of that rescue attempt down below. On the top of your screen, the small box is another live picture. This is the other angle. Our camera guy is right behind those guys. This is where they're trying to lift the dog to. Eventually, hopefully, the dog will be lifted up and right towards the camera guy, with safety, of course, in mind for our photographer, Olin Martinez, on the ground. That is what we're looking at now, and sort of we'll know that this dog is safe and good once this dog is lifted and can be taken to a vet and be checked out and hopefully eventually reunited with its owner.
You know, in a situation like this, it begs the question, and I know you'd have to deploy a trained veterinarian to come out, but perhaps to ease the trauma of the dog, to bring down its anxiety and what it's been dealing with over the last hour or two, to set it, you know, to give it something to calm its nerves, just like we do. You know, some of us need that at times, and this is going to be a traumatic situation, even the lift here, and the dog is obviously very agitated, coming off of the experience that it just had here, and that's a situation that I know would be very challenging to do, especially with the environment there, to call a vet out, to get that vet down that ladder into the wash bed there, and to administer that type of medicine for the dog.
Well, they have their hands full in trying to get that dog up to higher ground there. It's so fascinating to watch this all play out, and how much we care about animals, you know, as that dog was struggling so hard in that water, and you see those rescuers there working so hard to make a difference. And I think kind of speaks to everyone's heart and soul and emotion when you see an animal that is suffering. And you just hope that this kind of ends where they get that dog up there. I'm kind of not sure what they're doing down there.
Yeah,
probably
what is
trying to get that
right
harness on and maybe create a muzzle with maybe rope.
It's a process.
Some way,
especially
so
it's a process. You're right, Christine, Alex, in that you're dealing with an animal that is incredibly agitated. If this was, when we watch those hoists, those helicopter rescues of, say, a hiker that's injured, the hiker is going to listen to the paramedics, listen to the firefighters, and be calm and let them do what they need to do to strap whatever they have to, the apparatus around them, so that they could safely execute that hoist. The dog doesn't want anything to think about it. All the dog knows is, now I'm uncomfortable again. All these guys are sitting on me. They're holding me down. They're wrapping stuff around me. And it's a process. Look at how many are down there, and they're doing just that. They're trying to keep the dog calm the best they can. They're being bit at, or you know, it looks like a scary situation with that big dog, a shepherd mix. That's what we heard. And they're doing whatever they can to make sure that that dog is going to be safely lifted up alongside that wash, and that's a high wall there to get it up to safety.
Especially if that dog is squiggling around and making all kind of motion. I don't know how you help get it up a ladder.
They're trying, not to bring it up the ladder, but some movement maybe.
Yeah. You're thinking with the helicopter they hoist it? Like
no, I think they've got look like they have a harness around it, and they're going to pull it up like you would pull something up to the helicopter. And that's what all those people are there to do. And you see the rope there, because they're not, it'd be impossible to imagine taking that up that ladder.
And you can see that's perhaps a 8-10 foot high wall there. And I think that they are going to do it just from the side. We're not seeing the helicopter.
Yeah, you see this guy getting the rope ready.
Looks like they've made some progress there with those swiftwater rescue workers now on their feet. Guessing they had to do some kind of rope or some kind of muzzle around the dog and its mouth and get that harness on or vest.
And it looks like they're getting ready, because the gentleman at the head there is starting to make some gestures to the individuals. Again, the upper left corner, that's on top. That's on top of the wall there, on top of the Tahunga Wash. And the larger picture that you see on the right side of your screen, that's what's happening in the wash itself. You can see at least one of the Swiftwater team members making their way up the ladder there, up towards the side. And you can see there is a line there. And all they're going to do is hook that line, it looks like a couple of them there, to the harness on the dog and lift it up. And this is the process that we're seeing now. You're seeing this live here. And there it goes.
That cannot be light, trying to lift that dog up. Wow.
What a sight there.
Wow. Maybe we can.
Do we cheer
maybe we
again?
can take that
Right?
picture. Yeah.
Oh, that's the shot right there.
Wow.
See, they did a rope there. Yeah.
There was the muzzle there you talked about, Christine.
For safety, because the dog was biting. He was so scared.
Wow, what a shot from our
It's okay,
photographer on the
baby.
ground there. We really get to see that
Yes.
dog's
It's okay.
face, and
Look at that harness there. It goes
Just
around the
hope
legs,
somebody
the
can-
back.
yeah.
Oh, now camera's in his face.
That's
You
something
imagine
else.
this dog is going to eat well tonight and sleep well
Sleep well,
tonight
for
Oh, yeah.
as
sure.
well.
Yeah, it's going to be well taken
it's
care of. And
okay,
I'm sure we're
baby.
going to hear more of he or she, its name, the owner. What a day. And let's salute once again our Los Angeles Fire Department for putting themselves in harm's way. Yes, it's their job, but they did a tremendous job in doing this and bringing not only the owner of the dog, a woman, to her safety and the dog itself, but another individual, a bystander, who jumped in and tried to be a hero and rescue the dog as well.
Well, this dog is now walking like it's a Hollywood celebrity with the cameras nearby. It's quite something to
What's
watch
up?
this this at play. Who would have ever imagined this at the beginning of the day for this dog, and this is what would happen. But really, if you think about it, given all of the potential bad outcomes, not only for this dog, but for the multiple people that were in the river trying to rescue this dog, this is the best case scenario. This dog out safe and everybody else out safe. But yet another reminder about the real dangers when it comes to the LA River and rains. This happens almost every time that we have a rain. Somebody gets trapped in there. Somebody forgets how powerful that thing is. And in some cases, Rick, it is fatal, where people
That's
do
right.
lose their lives in there. And this should be a wake-up call to everybody.
Again, another reminder, just stay away from the river, from the washes. Make sure your kids, if they're route to and from school or to friends' homes, if they're out and about on their own, just give them a gentle reminder to stay clear of that. And this dog is going to get some really good veterinary care now, get checked out, and then hopefully be reunited with its owner. And we'll have more on this, obviously. We're going to get the backstory of how this all started.
All right, there you have it. Coverage from Fox 11 Los Angeles as a dog is being taken away for, like they were saying, probably a really good meal tonight after now 2 hours later after that safety call came in. The rescue successful. Los Angeles Fire Department walking off with a safe and happy boy there. So we'll try to bring you more details later in the evening. As they said,